All right, welcome back to another special broadcast of The Unknown. And we got another update on the What the Hales case. We're going to do some updates from yesterday, but before we get to those updates, What the Hales refers to Jeremy Hales and his YouTube channel, What the Hales. He's a social media guru, whatever you want to call him, but primarily on YouTube. Now, he made his name with like Storage Wars type stuff, and then he started suing people and harassing people for content. It's just disgusting and despicable. He recruited one of my good friends. Well, she was definitely a friend, maybe not a good friend, Megan Fox, who still writes, I guess, for PJ Media. Now she's a scummy content creator because she lost all of her ethics. And apparently, and we're going to talk about it later, she may have had a threesome that included the person that I'm looking at, Richard Luthman, and you are Richard Luthman Jr., and that slight technicality may have some relevance. So yesterday, I'm going to get it up on the screen. We want to give a quick rundown. We talked about this motion, and it's a motion by a John Doe that whatever. I just briefly run down the motion because I have an update related to this motion. And while you run down the motion, I'll leisurely scroll through it.
So in the 11th Circuit, which is where the Florida federal court is, where the Jeremy Hales 2 case is, and that refers to the Jeremy Hales, one case against Preston and Cook, who were his neighbors, and there's a second case against a whole bunch of media people, content creators, or anybody that Jeremy Hales perceived to be dissenting from his point of view. They said words and phrases and speech that he didn't like. Well, he decided to turn that into a lawsuit that is a trade libel lawsuit, or deceptive trade practices, not even libel or defamation, deceptive trade practices. Now, this motion stems from a John Doe, and in the 11th Circuit, anonymity is a highly valued issue under the First Amendment. So anonymous people can provide information to the court. People can provide information to the court who are non-parties to a case all the time as interveners. Well, the biggest ones we see are called amicus interveners. So amicus is a friend of the court. They're allowed to intervene on issues of law or issues of fact, even if, let's say, there was a social sciences study or some type of situation that might wanted to be brought to the court's attention. But usually it's law professors like our friend Eugene Volokh, who files amicus briefs all over the country on the First and the Second Amendments. But what this happened to, what John Doe did was he filed an intervener, a leave to intervene, a permission to intervene to provide information about a process server. And this man is called the G-Man, Eugene Griffith. And he's a process server that's been engaged by Jeremy Hales and Hales' scumbag lawyer, Randy Pocket Rocket Shockett of Trenton, Florida. And so what this does is this alerts the court. And I know through a protected source I received this document, which is how we got it. But the fact is that they alerted to the fact that Mr. G-Man filed an affidavit with the court, a sworn statement with the court. These ECF number 142 on the Hales 2 federal case. And so what happens, it shows that the statements made by Mr. Griffith are not true. They are false. And they appear to be an intentional misrepresentation. And that
now, the falsehood is that they have been trying to serve you. Well, they've been trying to serve Richard Luthman. We're going to presume it's you because you were the one who was engaged in coverage of him. It wasn't your dad. There are other Richard Luthmans. I doubt it was them. But they're not very specific about which Richard Luthman they are serving. And they were arguing to get more time, and part of the argument to get more time was they were suggesting that you had been avoiding service. Their evidence that you were avoiding service was thin, but part of their evidence was this guy, Eugene Griffin, claiming that you called him and were nasty to him. However, according to this motion and the evidence provided in the motion, it wasn't you who called him. It was Joey Camp, someone you know, who called him. But there's even more evidence after, and as you can see, there's Joseph Camp. So he is the one responding to him. But after this motion, this affidavit, I should say, by Mr. Griffin. I mispronounced it originally when I spoke with him. We're going to talk about how I spoke with him. This after Mr. Camp was alerted to the affidavit, he reached out to Griffin and others, including Randall Shockett, and said, no, this affidavit is wrong. It needs to be corrected. And here is the email. It's a little long, maybe TLDR right there, but basically saying, I'm the one who spoke to Eugene Griffin. You guys need to correct that affidavit and explain. Affidavits can be wrong. They shouldn't be wrong. That's not necessarily perjury, but if you made a misstatement on an affidavit, and or you as a lawyer submitted an affidavit with a misstatement that you may not have known was a misstatement, but then you're alerted that it is a misstatement, is it just a suggestion that you then need to fix it, or is it mandatory?
Look at what's going on here. Okay, and if you read here, you see where it begins on November 4th. On November 4th, read 3 paragraphs, and it tells the whole story.
Here we go. On November 4th, I engaged in a courteous and respectful conversation with Mr. Griffin, utilizing both my US-based number and a secondary line from Viber Mexico VoIP. Of course, he uses VoIP. Anyway, should further verification be required, I can be readily identified through the phone number from which I texted 720-454-5240, a number that has remained consistently mine for over 15 years, or via my public social media activity on Gab, which was sent to him as a screenshot with clear indication that I control the post visibility. Quote, hello, since you have declined to correct the statement, I will leave it up as accurate. See attached screenshot. I think the statement was his suggestion that that Griffin is a pervert. I, meaning me, Joseph Camp, of whom the phone number and social media account came back to. Now, imagine my abusement upon discovering that Mr. Griffin, who boldly stylizes himself as a, quote, private investigator, apparently lacks the elementary sleuthing skills to trace a straightforward known telephone number appearing on his caller ID. Instead, he has fabricated a tale for the court, attributing the calls and text messages to one Richard Luthman, a claim as credible as a detective mistaking a cat for a criminal mastermind. One might expect better from someone in his profession. Perhaps his magnifying glass is better suited for spotting dust bunnies than actual facts. Equally baffling is the attorney who submitted the reference document attached for your convenience, seemingly without a second thought to its veracity. It's almost comical how such a submission could slip through. Did they draw inspiration from a bad spy novel, or is this just another day in the theater of the absurd? And the document he's referring to is the affidavit that Shockett submitted with the motion or whatever he filed to ask for more time. And this was sent to a bunch of people, including Randall Shockett. So
and including the judges as well. The judges of the court.
So everyone is aware that this affidavit is false, and that's what this anonymous person wants to make everyone aware of. But do you know who we haven't heard from yet since he filed the
affidavit? From Michael
Eugene Griffin, but now we have. So earlier this morning, I spoke with Mr. Griffin. Now, I started recording late. I accidentally called him Griffith. I do want to apologize for that. It is Griffin. And from there, here we go. Griffin. My name is Michael Volpe. I'm an investigative journalist. I've been doing a lot of work on Jeremy Hales. And it looks like you did some process service work for him. And there's a new motion arguing that you committed perjury when you claim that you spoke to Richard Luthman, when in fact you spoke with Joey Camp. What do you say?
Okay.
What do you say?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you received an email from Joey Camp in which he said, no, you spoke to me and not to Richard Luthman, so you do know what I'm talking about.
Not at all.
No, you didn't receive the email?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you speak with Richard? Did you speak with, are you saying you spoke with Richard Luthman?
Sir, I have no idea what you're talking
Did you do some process service work for Jeremy Hales and Randall Shockett?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're not even going to confirm that you did process service work for Jeremy Hales and Randall Shockett?
Sir, you're trying to draw blood out of a rock. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah? So you're not a perjurer? Because it seems like you're lying to me right now.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Thank you. Anything else you would like from me?
Are you a perjurer?
If you are.
Yeah? Did you commit perjury? Did you claim that you spoke with Richard Luthman when really you spoke with Joey Camp?
Sir, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have your affidavit.
You want me to answer your question? You want me to answer your question? I have no idea what you're talking about, first of all. And whoever I speak to, I confirm who they are.
Do you? Griffin, I'm sorry, Griffin. I don't think he confirmed who he was speaking to in that case.
I don't think he confirmed, and I don't think that when he was alerted to the fact he might have been mistaken, that he went back and checked his work. And
Right.
when you have something you filed in a federal court, you have an obligation as the filer, not so much Griffin, okay, but more so Randy Shockett, who's an officer of the court, when he knowingly has filed something that may have contained a misrepresentation. And it might have been a good faith thing. They just made a mistake. People make mistakes all the time and things get corrected. But this is a pattern of behavior with Randy Shockett. When he's alerted to something that was put in the court and misrepresented, he actually goes into bad faith and does not correct it and has no candor towards the tribunal. You could talk on that, Mike, right?
Right.
You had an experience yourself.
I filed a bar complaint that I think was a lot less serious than the behavior here. He, in order to justify doing a deposition against someone who had really nothing to do with the case at hand, claimed that she represented people in both Ohio and Florida, and actually she was working for the county of Levy in Florida, so she could only represent people in Florida. And I alerted him to it. He ignored it. I filed a complaint. In this case, it's much more serious because here the guy, in attempting to get extension of time, the guy falsely claimed that he spoke with you or with a Richard Luthman when he spoke with a Joey Camp. He and Griffin are both alerted to it, and they refuse to correct the record. But the court is also alerted to it. That would be Zachary Belitho, the bozo magistrate who can't keep his head on straight with this case. He hasn't done anything with it yet. However, this new motion has only reached the court a few days. This looks like something that someone needs to file a bar complaint against Shockett for. Am I right?
It very, very well come to a bar complaint because this is a pattern of behavior about candor towards the tribunal. This may actually need to be a motion to the court because we're in litigation in this case, or I'm not in litigation, I haven't been served, but other people are in litigation. And if this is brought to the attention of the court, it's before the court, and some of the other instances like you discussed need to be brought to the court's attention. And then you have a situation that's called bad faith. And when you act in bad faith, that's something that a lawyer cannot do. When you take the oath of attorney, you have ethical rules, and the ethical rules are premised upon good faith at all times. And when you engage in bad faith as an attorney, you have engaged in ethical breaches and ethical misconduct, attorney misconduct. And so there are all different types of attorney misconduct. There are all different rules. But this encompasses at least 3 or 4 separate rules of attorney misconduct, the biggest ones being a candor towards the tribunal. You always have an obligation to tell the truth to the judge. And if you discover something that's not true, you have an obligation to correct it within a reasonable time. The other thing is truthfulness in statements to others. Okay, you need to be truthful in your statements to others and act in good faith at all time. And the fact is, if he's knowingly filing documents that he knows are bad, okay, he may have known this document was concocted in the very beginning, right? He might have known that it was terrible.
And he definitely knew after he received the email, because no one's going to believe that neither you or Griffin opened the email or looked at it or tried to understand what was in the email. Everyone knows that one or both of you looked at that email, because his argument was Volpe sends me a lot of emails, I don't open them. When I filed a bar complaint, which I think was a frivolous answer. But in this case, you're saying that neither you nor Griffin, who was the subject of the affidavit, or who submitted the affidavit. Neither of you opened this email. Neither of you looked at it. Of course you did. You know that
And
you
his
filed
and
something.
his
Right.
client Jeremy Hales has
Right.
established
Yeah. No.
actual
No. Yeah.
knowledge.
None of you guys looked at it.
No, he's
Right.
established actual knowledge in his social media on Facebook, his statements and threats on Facebook, as well as his statements on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. So he's established actual knowledge of this fact as well. He talked about G-Man as the processor. He talked about the blue tape with Robbie, Robbie Keefe. He's talked about a lot of different things. And what this means is there's something in law called falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. And this means that if somebody lies once, you can disregard everything they've done. So he's lied once at least, Mr.
Well,
Griffin.
what do you think my interview with Griffin does to his credibility in general?
Well, he's shot at this point because if there's ever an issue about service or a question, then we could bring him in and ask for what's called a traverse or a hearing on the service. You bring him in, and then if he tries to defend his affidavit, right,
Mhm.
you get to play that audio and then turn around and impeach him.
Mhm.
Right? So you didn't know what was going on. On 12/19 of 2025, you didn't know what was going on. You
Mhm.
signed an affidavit a few days before, a month before, that says you knew what was going on. Then a month later, you didn't know what was going on. Now you're in court today and you know what's going on again. How did that happen, sir? Please tell me. Did you drink a magic elixir? Did you drink
Right.
forgetful juice on 12
He he wouldn't, and I must have caught him off guard, but he wouldn't even confirm he did work for Jeremy Hales and Randall Shockett. Who believes that he doesn't know who his clients are? He should have just said, I'm not answering your questions. Instead, he answered it that way. Now, moving on. Yesterday, we talked about one Megan Fox. That's not the really famous Megan Fox. That's the D-list Megan Fox, my former friend, writes for PGA Media, has a somewhat popular YouTube channel. In February, you made a silly video that I didn't even like, that I said, this is crude. I didn't like it. And it would have gone away, except Megan went absolutely ballistic. We have to play the video. Well, this is a new video, but it incorporates the stuff that she doesn't like. So I'm going to get the video that she absolutely hates. And then we got an update from that as well. All right, here we go.
Today we're going to talk about your hideous, hideous propaganda minister, Megan Fox. She is a hideous person on the inside, most importantly. Very, very terrible person. And she's a former journalist because she doesn't know what the truth is anymore. She took to the internet yesterday and said that, you know what, Randy Shockett's not so bad for abandoning his wife and children and running off with that hoe bag, itty bitty kitty, also known as Doreen Turner Incolas. And now she's got a big hoe bag diamond, and she's going to be Miss Shockett very soon. But that's not so bad. The fact that Randy Shockett didn't pay any alimony to his wife of over 20 years, and he's a deadbeat, basically. That's not as bad as Rich Lukeman. They're saying Rich Lukeman tried to kill his ex-wife. Well, that's not true at all. And there's actually a letter that shows that I never tried to kill anybody. I sent a legal letter to her lawyer and to her. And if you want to talk about that, I'm here to talk about it anytime you want. But the fact of the matter is, I told you, Megan Fox, that you were going to have a Kathy Griffin moment. And that was because you were going to be relegated to the D-list for the rest of your life. You're a D-list quasi-wannabe journalist, mouthpiece spin doctress. And that's the truth.
All right. So the part she didn't like is right at the end where a photo of her goes up. And when you did this originally, it wasn't just a photo. You had him. That's Jeremy Hales in the car, and you had Andrew Tate, a notorious rant by the notorious misogynist Andrew Tate, where he's like, I don't want to fuck him, but I need to fuck him. Blah 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 blah. And the point you were making is that she is the equivalent of the whores that Andrew Tate recruits, that she's a media whore. That was the point you were making. But she claims that it's revenge porn because it's sexually suggestive, even though no one is naked, even though it's a photo of her and a photo of him. And so she has been claiming that it is revenge porn. So there's a Facebook page that I won't say dedicated to this stuff, but involving some of these things. and you posted a link to this YouTube video, and all hell broke loose after you posted that link. All right, and we're back. We had a slight technical difficulty, but I finally figured it out. And here we go. All right, so you posted it, and immediately, maybe not immediately. At some point, Megan Fox Author, that's her Facebook page, she got very bent out of shape. Anyone on this thread should be reporting this post in this group for sharing revenge porn. I did not consent to my image being distributed in a gross sexual manner. Report for sharing unconsented sexual material and leave this group. Anyone who supports this kind of disgusting content should not be supported. And then somebody I don't know, I took this post down once, Megan. I know it's wrong. I know it goes against terms of service too. I'm working on it. Give me a minute. I've already dropped the direct message, I'm assuming. And then you responded, revenge porn is distributing intimate photographs of their usually former partner without their consent. So you admit we did the nasty. The laws have changed and digital depictions are included in the law, including federal. You are a scumbag. I do not consent to this harassing material. You're a piece of shit who deserves prison, and I'm sure you will find your way back there soon.
So you notice, Mike, how it went from it went from revenge porn to harassment. You notice in the next thing, it went from revenge porn to harassment, which are two different things. Keep going.
John D. Grems, who I've seen his Facebook posts, he's generally a supporter of Jeremy Hales and Megan. And he said, in New York, what people commonly call, quote, revenge porn is officially a crime involving the non-consensual sharing or dissemination of intimate images, and it's taken seriously. Here's how it works. It's really about non-consensual images. The law covers situations where someone shares, publishes, or sends an intimate image or video of another person, and the person depicted did not give consent for that image to be shared. Intimate typically means nudity or sexual activity, like exposed private parts or sexual conduct. It doesn't matter if the image was originally taken with consent. For example, private relationship. The key is whether someone consented to it being shared publicly. It's a crime in New York. Under New York law, sharing these with intent is a misdemeanor. So, and then he goes, it can mean emotional harm, financial harm, blah, blah, blah. And then Roger Feller, another friend of Jeremy Hales. Hey, Albert, we got the same friends on Facebook. How cool. Okay. His only claim to be on D-list is his President Dick schedule. And then John D. Grems. Richard Luthman is on post approval. If you are seeing one of his posts, it is because one of the moderators and myself have approved it. Yes, his posts are designed to shock. Yeah, all right, here we go. If you're seeing his posters designed to shock, offend, be vile and hateful, but that is freedom of speech. Using the feature like blocking him is an alternative to having to tolerate during his dung post, but he has the right to share his opinion. And Megan, thank you for confirming you approve the sharing of revenge porn. You will be added to any legal complaint involving this. Where was the nudity, the sexual organs? When did you consent to the sexual act? This is him clearly making fun of you, just like you're fat shaming and making fun of him. He's doing it to you. The problem is you can dish it out, but you can't take it. I agree. And then Jeremy Hales jumps in. We'll see what the courts have to say about it. This isn't a threat. This is reality. Jeremy Hales just loves to sue people. But folks, when you have this kind of contempt for your own fans, it never works out well. This is what he thinks of you, his fans. If you ever cross and he'll sue, Megan, no, it isn't. It's depicting me in a sexual act. Did anyone see a sexual act in that? No. It is illegal and disgusting. It is nothing like saying someone is fat. She's actually saying that what you did is so much worse than her calling you fat. This is where she is. He has taken my image and depicted me in a sexual act. I mean, okay, that is illegal under federal and state law. Hey, Megan, this came out in Florida. If it's so illegal, how come no action has been taken? I have reported your page. I got Leslie's page deleted for the same thing. You want to try me? Keep it up. Otherwise, you should remove it immediately. Continuing to repost this harms me, my family, my reputation, and Jeremy Hales. This harms her? Oh my God. I think you should have learned by now that harming Jeremy Hales maliciously leads directly to court. She's telling you he loves to sue. Who wants to deal with this guy? She's telling you he loves to sue. This is your warning. Take it down. And then John D. Grems refers to something you and I have both referred to. I'll refer you to Hustler Magazine versus Falwell 1988 Supreme Court ruling. Flint, meaning Larry Flint, the guy who owned Hustler, also became a central figure in the 1988 Supreme Court case. Also became the central figure in a celebrated movie called The People versus Larry Flint, where one Woody Harrelson portrayed him. Hustler Magazine versus Falwell, where they talked about all this, where the court ruled that public figures cannot recover damages for emotional distress caused by parody, even if offensive, reinforcing protections for free speech under the First Amendment. And I think that's it. It might have gone on.
I think there's another one. Keep going.
I don't have it, but it kept going. But I wanted to get this up. He referred to Falwell versus Flint. And so what is the deal with that case, and how does that case relate to what we're talking about?
So is Jeremy Hales a public figure?
Yes, without a doubt.
Is Jeremy Hales an individual who injects himself into the media as a media personality?
Yes, and so is Megan Fox.
And so is Megan Fox. So if they're what we call public figures, right, and if what's happened to them here is satire, do you believe that video is satire, Michael? Or
of course it's satire.
Well, actually, I don't think so anymore. I think that since they've made the allegation that it's revenge porn, I was the third person in the car. Right, just like this was the second governor on the grassy knoll. I was the third person in the car. I was filming the video, and that means that I've had sexual relations with Jeremy Hales and with Megan.
That is, you know what? This relates to something else. Yesterday, we talked about an article that I wrote about how Randall Shockett destroyed his family by having an affair, and Megan Fox downplayed that by claiming that 7 years ago you threatened to kill your wife, which you didn't actually do. It turns out the reason that she doesn't really care about adultery, it appears at least, and yes, folks, I'm joking because I know Megan would try to sue me, is because she committed adultery in a three-way. She did a menage a trois. Did you guys watch Jules and Jim by my favorite director, Francois Truffaut? Did you guys watch Jules and Jim before then? And then go do the. And you know what? I think they had a three-way in the car in Jules and Jim.
Funky stuff. You know, we asked before whether a court might gag Jeremy Hales. Well, I think there was a leather gag and ball, or as well, and there might have been work on some gag reflexes as well. So I don't think it's going to be.
And look, listen. Listen. In fact, all of this in a large way directly relates to Larry Flint, who sadly enough is a First Amendment hero. He's not a hero. He probably raped women. He definitely exploited them, but he did for his sins suffer to help others engage in the First Amendment. He's a very complicated guy, and as we learned later on, he and Jerry Falwell became very good friends. He even shared techniques so that Falwell could lose weight. They exchanged Christmas letters, which is really interesting. But what he did was suggest in a mocking way that Falwell was involved, I think, in bestiality, just like obscene sex acts that were obviously jokes. Falwell took it too personally, sued. The Supreme Court said you can't take a joke legally. They said you can't take a joke. It's the same thing here. You're mocking her. She can't take a joke. You are protected by this case. She should just take a joke. And if she hadn't said anything, no one would still be talking about this video that I didn't like, that I like more and more because of her reaction. But them threatening their own fans, what are you doing? Listen, another Megyn Kelly is doing that with her fans. That is just the dumbest thing you can do.
Now look at the language in that Falwell case too. So could that parody that was there be reasonably believed by anybody?
Right. No, obviously.
If you press play, right? Even the stuff we said before, even the stuff I said on Lisa Lee's
right. No one thought
anybody reasonably believed that I was the cameraman, quote unquote, in a car with cartoonish figures, clearly photoshopped.
No one thinks she was giving him literal oral sex. That the point is that it was figurative oral sex by her being his media whore, which is the parody, the satire that and I think that's what she doesn't like. That it is an apt description because you are his media whore. You do what he tells you. You carry his water. And so it's appropriate to say that in a figurative way, you give him a blowjob. And that's what she doesn't like.
So clearly into the Fed 2 case, if we get to discovery in that case, if they end up serving me and it goes to discovery, because she's telling you, if you threaten Jeremy Hales, it ends up in a lawsuit. That's Edith's point. If the threats could be speech. Speech is the marketplace of ideas. You're a public figure. You're supposed to have a thick skin when you're a public figure. She just disclosed their modus operandi. If you challenge Jeremy Hales in any way, you will end up in court. It doesn't matter whether you have a claim or not. It doesn't matter whether it's frivolous.
What about this? That I correct me if I'm wrong, but the post is a link to the YouTube video. Am I right?
The link to a YouTube video. Sure.
What about this legal claim? Can they sue this guy for not removing a post, which is a link to a YouTube video? Or they can sue him. Would it be a meritorious lawsuit?
No, not at all. It won't be meritorious.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is
and
legal,
it won't be meritorious on the merits of the video itself, right? They have no claim whatsoever. None. Right. Zero.
Right. Even if he linked to revenge porn, I don't think they'd have a meritorious claim because you have to click the link. And I think it's also interesting and ironic. Have you received any kind of a notice from YouTube that someone has complained about the video?
Anything yet, but as soon as I get that, it's a Florida deplatforming law as well.
Right, but she didn't even go to YouTube to try to get it removed. She went to this guy, which doesn't even get the YouTube video removed. It just gets the link to the YouTube video removed.
It's not just on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's on Substack. It's on Rumble.
Right. But she hasn't complained to any of them. She hasn't complained to any of them. You haven't been questioned about revenge porn. She hasn't even sued you for revenge porn. He did, Jeremy Hales, in his lawsuit that is the subject of everything that we've talked about, did claim that you hurt his feelings by making that video.
No, I think that what happened, Michael, I think that I may have physically harmed him. I think he may have hemorrhoids because of our car encounter. I really do. I think that might be the issue. The issue here is a bad case of hemorrhoids. If we remember the Jerky Boys, remember Saul Rosenberg, he had to get laser surgery for his hemorrhoids. So I think that Jeremy will have to get laser surgery for his hemorrhoids. That's what the whole crux of the federal 2 lawsuit is, that Jeremy Hales has hemorrhoids and needs laser surgery.
Here is the important part of this. Jeremy Hales is a legal bully, and Megyn used to stand up to legal bullies, and now she's one of them. That is the important thing. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you guys later.